welcome to Abstract Essay, where the essay shape thoughts find depth and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest, one of her advocacy helping entrepreneurs to build freedom business that embrace time and money freedom without losing impact and heart. No other than Miss Lindsay Sutherland.
Well, hello.
Welcome. Yes, welcome, Miss Lindsay on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the crux of it is in 2018, my family and I left Arizona. I had a big, nice corporate, cushy career, and
Mm-hmm.
we headed for the hills of Idaho. And we now homestead on 5 acres and just live a simple life. And we make our money online. And, that's the beauty of it. And that's what I'm passionate about helping other people do.
Definitely, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Lindsay. Thank you for helping entrepreneurs as well podcaster out there. So today let's talk about is podcasting still relevant in 2026? Spoiler,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a good topic. I actually am getting prepared to do an in-person talk on this on Monday.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm prepared with some statistics today, by the way, because I just got done
Wow,
building out my slides.
I love it.
Um, but it's interesting because I mentioned to you how we moved up here in 2018, and then I started my podcast in 2021. When did you start yours, Daniel? You've got a lot of episodes.
We have the same
Same
times.
same time frame.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting time frame because actually that's when a bunch of podcasters got started.
yes,
As a matter of fact, according to Apple, as of 2025, because Apple's where the majority of podcasts are listened to currently. So
yes,
we kind of just are sticking to their stats, although Spotify is coming up on a close second.
yes.
Um, but anyway, they have over 2.6 million podcasts, uh, I guess, published, but only 430,000 are currently active. So, what does that tell you?
Dormant.
A lot of people have quit. Well, obviously,
Yes,
after our lovely COVID experience, the whole world got to participate in. Um,
yes.
so many people had time on their hands, so they started a podcast. And then, as slowly we've gotten back to what we might call normal, many people have had to let it go because they're back to work and they're doing all the things that they did before. And so much has dropped off. Well, that's all to say that is great for us, those of us that might want to start podcasting or that have a podcast, because obviously now we have a more relevant voice amongst the noise, I guess you'd say.
Hmm.
But conversely, listenership has increased steadily over the last, 5 or 6 years. And by steadily, I mean about 5% a year, year over year since about the same time we started. So listeners are coming up, and with more people around the globe getting access to the internet, getting even accustomed to this online space, it's going to explode, I think, even more exponentially in the next couple of years, but yet less voices to compete with, right? So it is a very, very good place. Now, here's an interesting fact that I thought was dear to my heart. Now, you may not necessarily feel as sentimental about this as I do, but my podcast is primarily audio. And
Hmm.
out of just in the United States in 2025, out of the people who state they listen to podcasts regularly on a monthly basis, so these are like our avid fans, our listeners, 43% are still coming to audio only. So for
Yes.
anybody out there who might be thinking like, oh, I don't know, is podcasting relevant? Do I need to be on YouTube or somewhere else? Good news is you can start with just an audio only podcast and still be a player.
Definitely. You know what, Miss Lindsay, when I started my first season of all my four podcasts, Book 101 Review, Food 101, Abstract Essay, and Geography 101, I used my iPhone 10 for all those first season. And then a $10 microphone. Imagine, and then upgrade and upgrade. Consistency is the key, people. And
It
Miss
really.
Lindsay, the spoiler is that the strategy has changed. What is the biggest strategic shift a podcaster who started in 2018 needs to make to stay relevant today?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I mean, it's not like it was when we started where you could pretty much just start anything and pretty much have an audience.
True.
Um, it's a little bit harder in that podcasts that want to come on the scene and talk about anything. Like I have a friend of mine was talking about starting a podcast, and she's like, "It'll be about anything that's on my mind." I'm like, "That's may not going to be a very good one."
Yes.
Because if you think about it, like think about it as a listener. If let's say somebody were to come to your podcast and one day you were talking about something sports related, but then the next day you're talking about your kids and being a parent. The person that found you for sports may not care anymore about whatever else you have to say. So you might get a listener on one episode, but not every episode. So, in order to really be successful, what you want is you want to have a podcast that is very specific on a specific topic that resonates with a specific, I call them human. We want to talk to one person about one specific thing that they're going to want to come back for because it's something they're working on or interested in their life.
With over 5 million podcasts that we've built it, the outcome model is that. What is the new frontier for audience discovery and how is it differ from relying on Apple or Spotify algorithms?
Honestly, I feel like we're in a really interesting time, don't you, with
Yes.
AI. I'm a little interested to see how things are going to shake out in the next couple of years. I don't even think that anything I would say to that right now is going to still be relevant in 12 months. It's changing at the speed of light. I mean, we are truly going through a revolution in the digital space. I was just listening to an episode with Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, and
Yes.
Elon did you hear the same one?
No, not yet, but I
No,
just
it's
read a little bit statement about what they're
Oh,
talking
gotcha.
about.
Okay. It's worth checking out because, it really blew my mind. Of course, Elon is an advanced thinker, but the way he's talking about technology in the next 5 years, as far as content creation goes, I don't even think it's going to be recognizable. But all that is to say, and I had to like pray about this to be honest with you because I was like,
Yes,
is all
yes.
this work I'm doing worth it? But you know what? I think those of us that get started now and really just get in head first are going to be um, light years ahead because all that I think is going to be at play here is AI is going to make it easy for people who are afraid of the camera or afraid of the mic to start producing content that's AI generated. And so all these voices are just going to be like there's going to be even more. So the hook is this. You want to build an audience of what I call super fans. And that's going to be people who truly love your content for you. Like you, Daniel, you're a super engaging host. I was listening to one of your episodes this morning and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so cheerful. And I just think like people will keep coming back because they want to hear your voice. And that is really what I'm trying to say. People need to lean into who they are rather than it's not necessarily about what you know per se, but it is more about how you deliver the content and what you stand for, your character, your moral fiber.
Yes, they like the emotion. And thank you for that, Miss Lindsay. And what does it mean to be a platform
A
that,
platform.
yeah, a platform agnostic podcaster in 2026? And how do you distribute your core audio content across different channels like YouTube, TikTok, newsletter, and without burning out?
Yeah. Well, I'm an advocate for like I have a simple business model that I teach. It's a four-pillar business model. So there's one human we talk to, we offer
Yes.
one transformation, we have one product ladder, and we focus on one platform. And for me, the platform is podcasting. And the reason I choose podcasting is because it shows up in search engines. It's content that I own, unlike YouTube, where it's on someone else's platform. I use
Mm-hmm.
Captivate.fm. It's not a syndication platform many people are familiar with, but I'll tell you one reason I like it is because it lets me have up to three of my own podcasts within a network for no extra
Awesome.
charge. And I like that because I could create private podcasts or specific things for listeners and whatnot. And anyway, that's been my favorite. They're fantastic. I think they're one of the top when I did a lot of research on it back in the day. I want to give this piece of advice because here's a little podcasting mistake I made. I
Yes.
started out using Podbean, not anything wrong with Podbean. There's nothing wrong with Podbean.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason later on, I got this whim to change. I don't really remember what it was. I think it had something to do with being able to put ads and build a network or something like that. And so I made the decision to change my podcast. Well, my podcast, all my episodes went, but all my historical data of all my downloads
Gone.
I lost. That was
Yes.
kind of a bummer. So I would just say, like, really do your research and whatever platform you decide, just marry it. Stay
True.
with
Marry with it because you will lose from day one to at the end.
Yeah.
My goodness. Yes, that's a good tip, Miss Lindsay. And in an age of infinite scroll and AI summarized content, what is the new value proposition of a long form, intimate audio experience? Why people still choose to listen for an hour?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you asked that because I think this is like goes back to what I was saying about building character. And another really key component is building an audience. We could sit here and spout out information into the airwaves till we're blue in the face. My husband jokes at me. He's always like, "You're just in there talking to yourself." And sometimes it feels like that, doesn't it? Like we're just talking to
Yes.
ourselves. But the fact of the matter is there's humans on the other end of any content we create. And the real piece that's being missed so much is that community aspect, that building of the audience, getting to know your listeners. So here's a fun tip I will give everybody. There's a couple of things. One is called SpeakPipe. So SpeakPipe is a software and it's free. And you can use that for people that are your listeners to call in with a question and record like a 90-second question. You could turn it into a podcast. Great way to connect with your audience, right? And then the other
Yes.
would be to choose a alternative platform for your nurture platform. So podcasting is my net platform. It's what I'm bringing in, but I have a free Facebook group. That's where I nurture people. And you want to build those relationships and truly be intentional about it because the size of your list is going to equal the size of your bank account if you're looking for a profitable podcast.
Yes. Nurture it. People, podcasting is just like a planting a tree. Sooner or later it will bear fruit. So fertilize it, cultivate it. Consistency is one of the ingredients. On content and format evolution. How is artificial intelligence being integrated into the podcast workflow? Not just for editing, but for content creation, personalization, and even dynamic and ad insertion.
Yeah, that's a great question too. I just created a free gift. If anybody's interested, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. It's a brand. It's like it'll help you create your own brand. And
Yes.
specifically, I used Claude AI for this. It's so funny because we could be so good about knowing other people, but when it comes to ourselves, sometimes it's like we're our biggest mystery, and finding our true authentic voice can be a challenge to like embrace, right? And that's really what the focus of this training is to help you totally find your identity that you're going to be on your podcast. But to answer your question right now, obviously, writing episodes is great. And I've used AI to come up with content. I produce a piece of content every day for my podcast, Monday through Friday. However, I found that sometimes it just didn't resonate with me. It was like I'm just creating content for the sake of creating content, and I'm losing this connection with my podcast. This is like my baby. I don't want to lose connection with it, right?
Yes.
And that's where I feel like AI is great for idea generation and maybe to spark something that's already inside of you, but it can never really replace who you are, except
Yes.
I got to tell you, this is crazy.
True.
Our young people are fantastic and so creative, and my son is no exception. I used to own a solar company here in Idaho.
Hmm.
And one of our technicians was struggling with something that she wanted to learn, but she was not very good at reading. My son took this PDF and found some app that would digest the PDF and turn it into a podcast so that she could learn it. Okay. And she was blown away. She said, "Oh my gosh, now I totally understand because she uses audio, like auditory."
Mhm.
So it's not a far cry to say that we couldn't create content that way. I personally, that is against my moral character. I'm not going to do that. I'm too in love with what I'm doing. I'm hoping that humanity is always going to have our firm planted roots here in content creation, because that's truly what makes us beautiful as souls. Um,
Yes.
but to answer your question, it could go in any direction. I think that's why these next years are going to be really interesting.
Definitely, people, human connections, human emotion is still the best. AI cannot replicate those emotions. Probably in the sooner or later, but now, right now, not yet.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
is video no longer just a nice to have, but a must have for a podcast growth? Or what is the minimum viable video strategy for an audio first creator?
Okay, I'll tell you mine. Now, whether this is good, bad, right, or wrong, this is what I do. I don't have the bandwidth to produce video to the extent that it deserves. This is why I choose one platform, because I've experimented with this. I used to, use like repurpose.io, and I would repurpose my content on all the
Yes.
social platforms. I was on audio, I was on video, I was exhausted. That's what I was. um, but what I did is I just stuck stuff out there for the sake of sticking it out there, and I found that that was not effective. I would have something soar on TikTok and flop on Instagram. Content needs to be curated for the platform it's designed for. So if you're going to be intentional about YouTube, if you notice the channels that are the most successful on YouTube, I don't know if you've paid much attention to this, but they get even more niche than a podcast. Like, for example, there's a whole show just about coffee, or there's a whole show just about golf. It's like they're very specific about one very, very specific thing, and their content will be very repetitive and highly edited most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. The
Yes.
strategy for YouTube is different, but there are a ton of people that listen to YouTube music, like the audio version, like for radio. And so for that, you can simply just plug your RSS feed in so that your podcasts are played audio in the YouTube music, but you don't have to worry about the video editing.
Hmm.
So that's kind of where I come from at it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to build up my audience on my two platforms where I'm invested in my time,
Yes.
nurture them. And when the time comes that I have the abundance to, hire an editor or somebody to manage my content, then we'll get
Yes.
busy on all the other platforms.
Definitely. You know what, with Lindsay, about editing, I never edit most of my podcasts because I want people to see or hear that I'm improving every season that I'm doing. Just like a simple paragraph or simple sentences. I never edit those mistakes because I want to tell to my listeners that I'm improving each day.
Hmm.
So, because every time we listen to a podcast, they are so polished that you cannot see anything that, oh, what kind of podcast is this? So, it's something like people will intrigue and probably they will listen or probably not, but you're giving a standard that for yourself, oh, this is me. I'm unique. This is who I am as a podcaster. So, Miss Lindsay, the standard guest interview format is saturated. What are the emerging, more engaging podcast formats that are capturing audience attention now?
I think just genuine, deep conversations, as
Yes.
a podcast host, and I know you probably experience this too. Like, people sometimes just want to come on, they want to pitch themselves and then get off your show and then never talk to you again. I actually
Yes.
feel like I've made more friends from podcasting with the connections I've made with guests and with hosts than anywhere else in my business in the online
Mm-hmm.
space.
Yes.
So I love that. And it can tell from a mile away. Now, mind you, my background was in the car business, so I can tell when someone's coming to sell me something. But I won't air their episodes. I just won't air them. If they come onto my show and they're just being I call it a pitch fest. And
Yes.
I literally have had people not even make eye contact with me the entire episode. I'm like, guy, really? Um, you know, that is just to me, don't even waste my time, don't waste your time, don't waste the listeners' time. They're here devoting their attention, and that is priceless. Their
True.
attention is really priceless. So make your conversation genuine, deep. And I don't mean just your character pillars, but like, for example, I just interviewed a guy. He's this big time entrepreneur, and he could have come on and done a big pitch fest. But you know what we talked about? We talked about family and him
Hmm.
being a dad, and what was that like as an entrepreneur. That's the kind of stuff people want, something that they can relate to on their personal level. That is the best.
Definitely. So, how is a dedicated community becoming a more powerful and sustainable asset than a large passive subscriber count?
Oh, well, because you could talk to them. I mean,
Hmm.
that's the beauty of it. And imagine if you could just talk to your audience and find out what they want, what are they struggling with. It would sure be a lot easier to come up with content, right? That way, because you
Yes.
can you can answer their needs. So yeah, absolutely, that's the best part.
Definitely. For me, Miss Lindsay, to connect with all my guests, my previous or upcoming guests, I usually do my newsletter every week or every month. So that I have a connection with them, build rapport with them, even they finish already the interview with me. So, why is podcasting becoming one of the most powerful tools for B2B marketing and lead generation? And what makes a sales podcast fall into the space?
Okay, well, that's a really interesting question because I know when we got started, that wasn't the case, was it? It was really hard
Yes,
for brands to make a way. Because here's the end of the day, people buy from people they like, and it's hard to buy from a brand, right?
true.
I mean, it's why when I think of Coca-Cola, I think of Santa Claus. I mean, I don't know, that's just how they start to identify with a persona. Nike uses specific athletes, like that. Everybody has to put a face to their brand. And in a B2B setting, I mean, businesses are starting to listen to podcasts too, and it's an authority builder. So here's the real beauty of it. You get an opportunity to answer key questions. It helps to narrow the sales funnel because now people can come, they can get all their questions answered before ever meeting with you. For example, back when I started my podcast, I was still employed at a local place here. It was a log cabin builder. And I started a podcast for them. Now, the reason we started a podcast for them is because they were a local contractor. However, they build log cabins for all over the world. And we're in a tiny town. I live in a little tiny town in Bonners Ferry, Idaho, and there's like 3,000 people in this town. Okay.
Mhm.
But there's this tiny company and they need to make a big reach. Podcasting is one of the most inexpensive ways to get your message published. It is
Yes,
by far one of the most inexpensive ways. We launched that podcast. We were one of the only podcasts in the log cabin home space, and we were the only one that was a builder. Other people were just log cabin stories and dreams and nothing like it wasn't like from a builder or that was our number one lead driver was that podcast. And we kept it up for a few years until I got busy doing what I'm doing, and then I just let them take over. But that is it's just a way to connect with people and answer questions and build a space where people can listen, get their questions answered, and when they come in to buy from you, they're really already sold.
mm, yes, definitely. And Miss Lindsay, with the decline of the pure download metric, what are the new KPIs or key performance indicator that actually indicate a podcast health and business impact?
So I don't listen to the download metrics as much. Here's why: because you'll see people who are like, "Oh, I made $50,000 with only 500 subscribers," and you see this stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say it's not real. It is real because here's what happens is people build relationships, and the people who are really good at building a connection and they have a sales pipeline. I talked about the four pillars, okay? For example, one of my clients just this year launched her courses. She just made $6,000 in 6 weeks with her system because she has a system for it, right? So when somebody
Mm-hmm.
comes into her ecosphere, here's the caveat: her email list is under 500 people. You don't necessarily have to have a huge audience in any realm. You need to have the right audience and you need to have an engaged audience. And you can do very well even when you're first getting started. In fact, it's why if I'm coaching somebody about podcasting, I always say start selling from day one, because you got to have your offer product line set up, because people will go back and binge on your podcast from episode 1 all the way through. It's very common. So I don't buy into those things. And even if you listen to some of the experts in this space teaching about podcasting, they'll say the same thing. You can have a successful and profitable podcast even with, in the beginning, when you don't have a lot of listeners starting out. Do you agree
Well,
with that?
very well said. Yes. What an encouragement, Miss Lindsay. I want to give you a big, big applause for that.
It feels so good, even though I know it's a sound effect.
Yes. Definitely. With the integration of AI assistant and a smarter information system, how will the in-car listening experience evolve, and what the opportunities does that present?
Can you ask me the question one more time? I'm not fully clear on what you want me to answer.
Yes, with the integration of AI assistants and a smarter for entertainment systems, how will in the car listening experience evolve? In what opportunities? Because most of the people listening to us are most commuters or on anywhere that are traveling, right? So
Gotcha.
how's the
Okay.
experience like that?
Yeah. Well, I haven't been in the car business for a few years, so I can't really speak to how cars are innovating. But one thing I can
Yes.
tell you, this goes back to what I was talking about with Elon. This is kind of one of the things that blew my mind. Because, have you ever seen I see these ads or clickbait things all the time where it says Elon Musk is going to build a new whole mobile phone thing. He's going after mobile phones. So Joe asked him, like, I see this. Is this real? Are you going to build a new mobile phone? And Elon did his normal, like, weird, awkward silence thing. And then he turns and looks at Joe and he says, I don't think mobile phones are even going to be relevant in 5 years. And I'm like, what? And he said, this is what he said. Now you guys can go listen to this yourself. But he said that he thinks, he goes, we'll have a device similar to a phone. Okay. He goes, I don't know what we'll call it. It'll have
Mhm.
pixels. He goes, but AI will be so integrated in our device that the minute we start thinking or talking out loud, it will just know what we need and we'll look at our phone. So if we're saying like, oh, I need to listen to that podcast, boom, we'll turn to our device and there it
Mhm.
will be, which is very freaky to me. That is kind of scary. And of course, if we want to search, it'll bring up all the things. Here's what we need to be thinking about. When after I listened to that, I thought, how will AI search engines be different or similar? I'm not fully sure yet, compared to the traditional SEO. Can we as podcasters do something more specific with our website or get somehow published in AI? This is like on my list of things to research because I'm just genuinely curious since listening to this. I think that's going to be the future is AI search. And so we really need to get a handle on what does that look like?
Mm. Definitely interesting and futuristic. Just like we are watching a futuristic movie. And what is the biggest threat facing established legacy podcasts with the large but aging audiences? How
Well,
did they
did you
adapt?
see this today? Candace Owens now is the number one podcast in the world. She usurped Joe Rogan. That just happened today.
Yes.
You know what? I think it is really about um, just knowing your audience. If you don't know where the audience is and where the audience is trending, and it could be trending because of politics, could be trending because of economics, it could be trending because within your space there's some fancy news thing and you just missed it. It's just not staying relevant and delivering what your audience wants. Hence why having that community is so powerful, because when you're in tune with your audience, you're always in the know and you can really just continue to scale. It just makes that whole cycle work better.
Yes, and Miss Lindsay, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, as well as my love letters, movie 101 review, and music 101 and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101, as well as my Bible Verses 101 and Science 101 and Sex 101 in each second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Lindsay, looking ahead to the rest of 2026 and beyond, what is one emerging trend or technology that the most podcasters are not paying attention to yet?
Well, I just think, like we've talked about almost the whole time, is AI. I think it's coming on. We're like frogs in the pot. It's happening so quickly. And it's warming us up. We don't even know. I mean, golly, I can. How did we ever live without Chat GPT? I don't. I don't
Mhm.
know now. It's a total revolution that we're in. Like everything is changing, but at the same time information is coming at us, I mean, in light speed. It's like warp speed. It's hard to keep up with it. So just take, like, maybe put it in your phone to spend 30 minutes doing some research on relevant, like, new strategies. Like, for example, today Google just announced a whole new ad strategy that involves AI. Like, there's just so many things changing on a day-to-day basis. It's important to stay, reading information, doing some research. Take time for that. Otherwise, you're going to miss it because it's coming fast.
Very fast, people. So, Miss Lindsay Sutherland, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Absolutely. I mean, my podcast is called The Freedom Entrepreneur. It's pretty easy to find. And as Daniel's showing you here, my this is my podcast website. So you can access all the episodes right from here. Last but not least, if you're interested in connecting with me, I'm on Facebook. That's where you'd look me up. And I'm the Mastermind Mom of Four on Facebook.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Lindsay Sutherland because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Miss Lindsay, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, my pleasure. Thanks, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.